Hi everyone, I am Shivashankar. Our project title is Crop Yield Enhancement. So, to increase crop yield, we found a formula that is crop yield enhancement is equals to getting know about what to plant and how to plant. So, what to plant in the sense the farmer should able to know which crop to be cultivated based on soil conditions and environmental conditions. So, what are those conditions means? Nitrogen content in the soil, phosphorus content in the soil, potassium content in the soil, temperature, humidity, pH, rainfall. So these are the factors which can affect suitability of a crop. Coming to how to plant means we are going to provide some planting guidance for the recommended crop means plant spacing. What should be the plant spacing between one plant to another plant? So why we need to consider plant spacing means let us see. For example, if we decrease the plant spacing between one plant to another plant rather than the optimality, then there are a lot of issues with sunlight utilization and nutrient utilization, and there are a lot of chances for spreading of diseases. Even it is difficult for the farmer to walk in the field. On the other hand, what if we have increased the plant spacing between one plant to another plant rather than the optimality? Definitely, it will leads to decrease in crop density, right? So that's why we need to consider plant spacing also. So upon considering these two things as main factors, we have built crop yield enhancement. So basically we have developed a model that will take inputs from the user. These are those inputs and recommend the best crop to be cultivated. For the recommended crop, we have given some planting guidance. So this is the abstract overview of our project. So let us see how we have implemented it in Python. So before proceeding into the implementation, let us understand the dataset first. So here is the dataset. The columns are nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, temperature, humidity, pH, rainfall, and label. So from nitrogen to rainfall, all these are independent variables, and the label column is the dependent variable. So this is about dataset, and almost there are 2200 entries are there. Now Samira will explain you some part of the code.
So, as we have discussed previously, that our project is about the crop yield enhancement. So, here we are training our machine or making our machine model to learn by giving us some giving some data sets. For that, the first step is importing the libraries required. The libraries required here are pandas, which is used to read the data set, and some NumPy library, also Matplotlib for data representation and visualization, Matplotlib, and for some techniques and algorithms, we are using logistic regression and decision tree classifier, neighbor classifier, etc. We are importing them from the libraries also. So the first step is importing them. I am going to import them. Okay, the implementation is done. And now I'm going to choose my dataset file. I have already done it before, so I'm doing it again. So here it is asking me to choose the dataset. This dataset is previously collected by us by searching in Kaggle account, which is very accurate. So we have chosen this. It's done. Next, knowing about the data shape of the data, it contains 2200 rows and 8 columns, where the 8 columns are the aspects given to the machine about the crop yield, uh, and the 2200 rows are about the every year's every year's perspectives. So what are these columns? As I have mentioned previously, that there are 8 columns here, 8 aspects for the machine to train. So the 8 aspects here are N, P, K, which are nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium, temperature, humidity, pH value, rainfall, and label. These are the 8 aspects and 8 columns we have taken in the data set. So there are, as you have observed, that there are 7 independent variables and one dependent variable, which is label. This label is basically the crop type, which is suggested by the machine after training. Um, so coming to the pre-processing of a data, as we all know that the pre-processing involves in checking the accuracy of the data. So now the techniques are like duplication and null values, checking for the duplication and null values. So checking for the duplicate values, you have already seen that there are no duplicate values, as you have seen here. Also checking for the null values, it is a function we used here, data dot in is null dot sum. It gives that if a data is having a null value or not. So as we can see here, there are no null values also. So we have done our pre-processing techniques. That means our data is somewhat accurate. So also knowing about the information of the data, that is about the data type of data given. Info of the data is generally data.info actually explores or gives an information about the data type of a given data. So as there are 8 columns, as we have observed that the 7 columns are given for a integer values, and the last column, which is a non-integer value. So it is showing here that n value, p, k, and all those are integer and float values, but the last one is an object value, which is a string. So it is basically, this data.info is to explain the data type of a given data set. To know or to know briefly about the data, here is the description of the data. Describing the data is done by a method called data.describe. So it describes the data by giving the mean, standard deviation, and minimum and maximum values of given aspects. So for on an average of crops, on a mean or average of a crops, for a given crops, the nitrogen value is 50.55 parts per million, and the phosphorus value is as given below. So you can see the data set values for minimum, maximum, mean, standard deviation, and all. uh, this is all about describing the data, means how much change is coming in every year and all. Also coming to this unique crops and their count, as we have decided to divide our data into integer type only, because the machine can easily accessible and understandable. We have done some encoding techniques to change the label of string into some integer kind. So there are many encoding techniques included, but we have used some dictionary type mapping for our machine, because dictionaries here, our crop types are only of 22 types, as we have seen before that there are 2200 rows, but there are only 22 varieties of our crops. That means we are having each crop values as 100, counts as 100. So as there are only 22 varieties of crops, we have just given a dictionary to map the labels into the integers. So as we have seen that the label dot value of counts is given by rice, maize, and all given as 100 here. And coming to the getting the overview about the data, that will be explained by our teammate Damini. So I carried on to her. Hello everyone, I'm Damni Priya and I'm going to discuss about the implementation of our project. So I'm going to discuss about the overview of the project. So here we use the pd.pivot underscore table function in pandas to create a pivot table, which is a way to summarize and analyze data. So here we use the aggregate function to calculate the mean average for each group for the values. So I'm running it. So it's done. Next we use the reset index underscore index function on the crop overview data frame for converting the index of the data frame back into a regular column. This can be helpful further to manipulate or analyze the data in our data frame. So next, we use the crop underscore overview function to list out the crops with the average values for the KNP, humidity, rainfall, and pH values. So here we have 22 crops. So these crops have the values like KNPs. This is the average values for all the crops. So next we are we'll discuss about the comparison between rainfall, humidity and temperature. These are the factors that uh, are useful for our project, and we used matplotlib library for implementing this comparison. So this is the data visualization between rainfall, temperature, and humidity for all the crops. So next we'll discuss about the comparison between nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium values for these are also the factors that affect our crop yield enhancement. So here also we use matplotlib library, and so this is the visualization of NPK values for all the crops. Next we'll discuss about the correlation between different features. So I'm running this. We used data dot correlate function for this, and this is used for generating a correlation matrix. So that shows the correlation coefficients between all pairs of features in the dataset. It is useful to understand the relationships between different variables. So here it shows the correlation between the values so that we can predict a suitable crop for our for planting. And here we used Seaborn library for representing the correlation matrix, and it the heat map function is used to generate the heat map. So here I'm running it. Here we used a not value equals to true for to display the correlation coefficients, and this is for separation between the cells line width. So this is the correlation matrix of our values of NPK, humidity, temperature, and rainfall pH values. So thank you, and the remaining portion will be explained by our teammate Shiva. Thank you.
So to develop a machine learning model, we need to take care of some fundamental steps. Those are data preprocessing, exploratory data analysis, feature engineering, data splitting, model selection, model training, and model evaluation. Data preprocessing and exploratory data analysis, these two steps we have already completed. We have already checked for null values, we have already checked for missing values. Fortunately, our data is very clear already. And coming to exploratory data analysis, we have visualized our data using matplotlib into a graphical representation, and we have gained some useful information and some useful insights from the data. Those steps will come under exploratory data analysis. Coming to feature engineering, to train a model, our data should be numeric only. If any attribute found to be non-numeric, we need to encode that attribute. Those steps will come under feature engineering. And the next step is data splitting. Once we have prepared the data so that it is suitable for feeding to the machine, we need to split the data into training set and testing set. Once we have completed the splitting, we need to select an appropriate machine learning algorithm, that is under model selection. Once we are done with selecting a model, we need to train the model by fitting the data. Once we have completed the training, we need to evaluate our model by giving different combination of inputs to check our model performance. So these are the some basic common steps in developing any machine learning model. Let us see how we have achieved these steps for our project. We can see the data information here. All the columns except this label column belong to numeric data type only, so we need to encode this label column. For that, we have taken a dictionary. As the number of unique crops in this entire dataset are 22 only, we have set each crop with a specific number. And then we have taken another attribute crop num, and we have added that attribute into our dataset. Once again, we just print the information of the data once again, and we can observe we have added crop num here, which is int. Next step is we need to separate independent and dependent features. Here independent variable is x and dependent variable is y. Independent variables x means nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, temperature, humidity, pH, rainfall. So we need to separate these six features into x variable, and the dependent variable is y, that is crop num. So the simple logic here is to drop this label and crop num so that we can get these six columns. That is the same thing we have done here. We are dropping crop num and label and put it into x, and for y we simply extract the crop num from the dataset. So these are our independent and dependent variables. Let us try to print the information about x so that we can understand. You can see these are the six attributes, and for y it is the crop num. And the next step is we need to split the data into training and testing tests. For that we have used train test split. It will take for four parameters. One thing is x and y, and test size and random size. X means independent variable, y means dependent variable, and the testing size refers to the percentage of test data that we have kept for testing. 0.2 means 20% of our data will be for testing. Here random state 42 means it was not like that we should use 42 only. We can use any non-negative integer, even you can use 0 also. The main intention behind using random state is for multiple runs of code, the the way of splitting should be same. Then only we can get same accuracy, right? Thus, that thing we can check by printing the extrain here, as this splitting 20% is a test size and 80% is a train set. Extrains shows 80% of data, that is 760 rows. You can observe first is 1656th row, it will showing randomly. If we again run the cell, it is also again showing 1656. That is the case with the random state, and we can check with X test and Y train and Y test. So this is about splitting the data into training and testing. So we need to train the model. Once we have the training test and testing set, for that we need to select some appropriate machine learning algorithms. As our task is to classify our belongs to classification, we have selected some algorithms related to classification. The first thing is logistic regression. In this, the line number 1 shows you invoking of the model, and line number 2, model 1 dot fit x train and y train. We're fitting the training set for the machine to train, and model dot predict of x test, we are sending testing data to get some y predictions. And finally, we are printing the accuracy that we are getting from logistic regression by using the function accuracy score by sending these two parameters. Those are y test and y prediction. Let us see how much accuracy we have got. Yes, 94% accuracy that we have obtained from logistic regression. Same thing we have done from support vector machine. We have invoked the support vector machine model, and we have fit the training data, and we have done some predictions, and we have print the accuracy score. And in this case the accuracy score is 96 percentage. And the same thing we have done it also for k nearest neighbor, and the accuracy that we got is 97, and for decision trees the accuracy is 98.1. So we need to select the model which is more accurate for any other development cases in the project. Since we need to build a recommendation system, we need to select a model with more accuracy, that is none other than decision trees. Let us print some graphical representation. You can observe decision trees are with more accuracy. So once we clear with choosing the algorithm and clear with knowing the accuracies, it's time to build a recommendation system. That thing we will see. So once we have trained the model, it's time for building a recommendation system. For that, we need to take some inputs from the user. Those are nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, temperature, humidity, pH, rainfall. So these steps will take the inputs from the user. After getting inputs from the user, we need to make them into single array. Let us name it as features, and the aim is to get some suitable crop based on these conditions. For that we need to use our building model. Here I have used model 4, means model 4 in the sense it is decision trees. The accuracy that we got from decision trees is somewhat better when compared to remaining all those algorithms. It was 98.2. It is good actually. That's why we have used the model 4. And dot predict of these features, we have sent these features into predict function. So the whatever the result obtained from this function will be stored into this prediction variable. That is like 1 2 3 numbers only, because the model itself directly not going to tell us rice is best crop to be cultivated or jute is best crop to be cultivated. It will give some number only, we need to map them. For mapping purpose we have taken this crop dictionary. So up to here we have built a recommendation system. To give some plant spacing guidance, we have used this dictionary. Here the keys are different types of crops available in this dataset. For each crop, the value is the corresponding planting guidance like row spacing and column spacing. So this is about the recommendation system. Let me show you the output so that you can understand well. Yeah, let me give nitrogen value somewhere around 65. Phosphorus, it is 58 is there. Let me make it as 60. Potassium 38 is there. Let me make it as 35. 23.22 is there. Temperature, let me make it as 24. And 83 is there. Let me make it as 80. And 6.33 is there. Let me make it as 5 or 5.5. And 221 is there. Let me make it as 230. Why I'm doing so means, like, if I given the exact values as inputs, then there is no sense in making this model. I have given the values somewhere around the original values to check whether my model is working properly or not. So if the model is suggesting me the rice is best crop to be cultivated, then I can understand that model is working well. Let me check it. So here you can understand it is giving rice is the best crop to be cultivated, and the corresponding planting guidance is also given by the model.